The Ottawa Senators today let DJ Smith go. Kind of an intriguing way to me is that they let him run practice first and then fired him after. That to me just was very bizarre. Like, if you knew you were going to do this, why would you wait until after practice to handle it? It just seems very odd. The Senators this year, they're 11-15-0, 22 points on the season, 12 out of the playoffs. They're last in the NHL in goal expectancy on the year. They've lost 4 in a row, and they have a heavy road schedule coming up the rest of the year. So definitely not very positive signs coming along for Ottawa in that regard. And I thought I wrote it down, but I forget the name of the what was the name of the interim? Luke, what was that? Jock Martin. Yeah. Longtime coach there and that kind of thing. So, just interesting how they handled that situation. What did you guys think?
Well, first of all, I'll say I'm pretty glad that we didn't have a show before the season started, because the Ottawa Senators would have been my biggest miss coming into the season. I don't know if I expected them to be a playoff team. I mean, that Atlantic is loaded. I definitely didn't expect them to be last in the Atlantic. This is a team I thought was poised to take a huge step next season. And, I mean, they don't have the goaltending, and they've had some other guys underperforming. So it's been a little weird to see what's happened up in Ottawa this season. In terms of the firing, I don't necessarily disagree with the firing. I don't truly understand why they waited until after practice. It's a little weird. It's a little unconventional. I don't think it really makes a big difference in the large scheme of things. Just another kind of almost silly story to tell about the firing. But I mean, I think it was the right move. This is a team that was not expected to have 22 points at this point. I mean, this is a team that is, Stützle and Tkachuk and all the other guys they got there. It's a surprise.
Yeah, no, John, I'm with you too. I know Ottawa. A lot of experts have them as kind of the dark horse. They weren't too far out of playoff contention last year. I think they fell like 6 points short. Right behind the Panthers, who made it all the way to the Stanley Cup. So I think being out of playoff contention isn't too much a surprise, but being last in the Atlantic, I know they've only played 26 games, so I think their games played are a little bit less than everybody else. But man, they've been marred with controversy in Ottawa this year too. Most notably with Pierre Dorion, the old their previous GM. They let him go after the investigation on the Dadonov trade coming out of Vegas. So there's just not a lot of good coming out of the front office in Ottawa right now. So hopefully,
the gambling incident too. Who was
there was the gambling incident at the beginning of the year. But hopefully they get a little bit more stability with Martin, and I think more notably than Martin is who the assistant coach is going to be, which is Daniel Alfredson, who was the longtime captain for the Senators. So they're trying to go with maybe that ex-player mentality behind the bench. So definitely some interesting developments there.
Yeah, I think this Ottawa team has a lot of young talent, and their production has not been at the level that they want it to be. And I think young players respond really well to coaching changes, mainly because any player feels responsible for the firing of a coach, because it's their representation of his system on the ice that causes that. And I feel as though the young players, that really resonates with them a lot more. So we're hoping for better things out of Ottawa with this change, but we'll see.
Yeah. And it was interesting how they brought Martin in as a consultant prior, and he said he had no interest in coaching. And then sure enough, they make a change and name him the interim. So
yeah,
to me, that was interesting.
It was almost like they had backup plans just in case things didn't work out with Smith. But what's interesting, and I don't know if it's just kind of the sign of the times, or because you kind of see it across all the major sports. And this is the 5th head coach that was fired this year already. I mean, it's crazy, right? You had Columbus before the season even started with Mike Babcock and Pascal Vinskin taking over. That's a whole different situation. That wasn't performance based or anything like that. But you had the first one, which was Woodcroft in Edmonton, replaced by Knobloch. Edmonton's 9-5-1 since the coaching change. Fired off eight wins in a row, or was it 9? You can correct me. Was it 9?
It was 8.
It was 8. All right. So eight wins in a row. Minnesota follows suit. They bring on John Hines, 6-2 since bringing John Hines in. And the last and prior to the Smith news today was St. Louis. And they're 2-0. They're 2-0 since bringing in a new coach. So I don't know if they're looking at those numbers and saying, we just need a change. We just need a change here, and something that's going to turn us around rapidly, which it looks like across the league it has had a positive impact on the players, and trying to develop a winning culture there.
Well, and